team for Boeing as well.
Okay, we're going to listen in right now.
Falcon 9 is in startup. Dragon is in countdown. FTS is armed for launch.
Leave him alone.
Dragon, SpaceX, go for launch.
It's a lot.
We just heard ready to launch. We're 30 seconds away. Katie, I see the tears in your eyes right now.
30 seconds.
Talk to us about what's going on inside.
I don't care.
It's a big deal for people to leave the planet. It is so hard, and so many people have come together to make this happen. And we're watching. We have to be there with them.
Stage 1 tanks pressing for flight.
T-minus 15 seconds. 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0. Ignition. Liftoff of the Falcon 9 and Crew Dragon. Go NASA, go SpaceX. Godspeed, bottom dog.
Godspeed indeed.
Vehicle pitching downrange.
Emotional moment for you right now, Katie, watching.
Stage 1 propulsion is nominal.
People on the ground will hear that.
Falcon power pumping nominal. M1D throttle down.
Katie and Christina, as we watch this, I'm thinking about what Bob Behnken told his family just before they left. Let's light that candle, because you see that big, beautiful rocket, clear blue skies, and just headed straight on its mission.
M1D throttle up.
Hope triumphs over fear in a time where our country needs it. Needs to be reminded of that.
And down on the ground, they can actually feel. You can physically feel that crackling that we hear. You can physically feel that.
Our Gio Benitez is at the Kennedy Space Center right now. Behind him is where the rocket just took off from. And Gio, what are your thoughts? I mean, you were right there. You could feel it. You could hear it. Walk us through.
Start of MVAC engine chill.
Well, I just have to tell you, I'm emotional right now because this is such a moment. And to feel what Katie was talking about, feeling that moment, feeling that go up into the air, and you can still sort of feel it. Extraordinary human achievement right here. And sorry for getting emotional, but it's my first launch, so there's that.
Hey, Christina,
Wow.
not at all your first launch. What are your thoughts as you're watching this historic moment?
I just couldn't be more thrilled. I'm thinking about how Bob and Doug feel in there and how excited they are. You know, every moment of the day was mostly the same as what they had experienced in their training sims until that takes off and you know you're going up. And at this point, they've been going up for so long, they know they're not stopping till they're in space. And that is just an incredible feeling. It's a new era where space travel isn't just limited to sovereign countries and governments. It's something that's going to be accessible for all, and it's going to be an innovative thing where we just open it up, and I can't wait to see where we go with it.
Confirmed.
There's first stage step.
MVAC ignition.
Dropped off.
Katie, talk to us about what we're just watching right here. We know this is a sort of a critical moment.
So that's the first stage dropping away. We call it main engine cutoff.
And explain to us exactly what's
So
happening.
basically the first stage, the first giant piece, we've used all that gas and now we're kicking it off. It's actually going to fly itself back down to the recovery ship. It goes up for another long time and then comes back down, but we'll see all that within the next few minutes.
And that was a major part of SpaceX's program, the reusable rockets, to
Absolutely.
make this, I don't want to say affordable, but to make it cost effective.
Exactly, to be able to reuse them again. And actually what they learn and making sure they understand how to make them fly back has been immense.
And Elon Musk had referred to that as part of the holy grail of spaceflight, essentially saying, why would you throw away a 747 every time that you used it? Give us a sense of what happens now. It'll not be until tomorrow. Is that in the morning or the afternoon when it's expected to dock with the International Space Station?
So this is the Dragon itself is still powering up into space. So it's still on the second stage engine right now.
Nominal trajectory.
Nominal trajectory I'm hearing. And so
Signal Bermuda.
that mean, what we're hearing right now?
They're saying when the next abort site is. Like, so all the way up from North Carolina, basically Nova Scotia, over to Ireland, there are abort points. There are designated points that if something goes wrong, that will be the place, and there are...
Where the Dragon capsule can come off.
Exactly.
Stage 2 propulsion is still nominal.
And that particular abort that's available here actually made this less risky than the initial NASA space shuttle flights.
I don't know about the numbers, but it's really, it's extremely valuable to have this kind of abort capability, not interrupted by, oh, if it happens at this time, we couldn't quite abort. They have abort capability that have 50 different abort sites all the way from the Cape, and from the time before they fuel. From that time, that capsule could be pulled off of the rocket, and Bob and Doug would land in the water. And now it's just a question of if that should happen, where.
SpaceX nominal trajectory.
Christina, talk to me about what Bob and Doug are doing right now inside the capsule. We can see them there on the left hand of the screen. What are they reviewing, and what are they doing at this moment?
You know, at this moment, it's really just all about the rocket. So they are probably reviewing some of the pressures and different signals that they're getting in telemetry from the rocket itself. Like Katie said, they are on the second stage, so they're going to continue to be propelled into space up until 8 or so minutes into the total flight. So they're monitoring, but monitoring isn't as simple as just looking at a couple gauges. You know, everything is vibrating. They're having a lot of G-forces on them. So even just monitoring the systems and listening to the communications is a big job as test pilots that they're doing.
You know, I'm going to ask our director, Dave DeCinti, if he can, by chance, go back to the initial liftoff when the rocket took off, when it was a go. And I want to bring him back, Colonel Steve Ganyard. Steve, your friend is Doug Hurley. He's in that capsule right now. He is headed for the cosmos. I understand when you saw the rocket take off, it was a pretty emotional moment for you as well.
It was. You know, with like Geo, it's hard not to be overwhelmed by this triumph. The number of people that came together to make this happen, and for the U.S. to be going back to space, and to think about this in the broader context of what it means for humankind to be able to go out and truly colonize, to bring in this golden age of space exploration that these guys are laying the foundation for.
And your friend Doug Hurley, I mean, he is an astronaut. Like the other astronauts we have joining us on this broadcast, he is somebody who's dedicated his life to this, and it is not an easy life. It is glamorous for the launches, but it is a very difficult life, and your family has to make a lot of sacrifices. Talk to us about Doug a little bit.
Yeah, he's one of those guys that just everybody would like. If you met him in a bar, he's the guy who's not too loud but loud enough where you want to hear his stories, and he's the kind of guy that anybody would love to be like, that people would want their sons and daughters to grow up like, and so he's a great role model, and I think Bob is too from what I've heard from him. So that's part of how NASA selects its astronauts. They're not only highly capable and willing to face the dangers of traveling in space, but they're also just great people, and they're people who can help the rest of the world understand science and to appreciate the kind of science and engineering that's going into space exploration. So he's a great ambassador for NASA, as is Bob, and it's a great thing to watch.
And Steve, I got to ask you though, the nickname, Doug's nickname. You mentioned it earlier, and the story behind that.
I'll give you a hint. Anybody that saw Wayne's World, maybe you can think back to that, but Doug and I have sort of a mutually assured destruction. We won't talk about our personal call signs together on TV. So.
All right, Colonel Steve Ganyard for us.
And I want to bring the astronauts back in. You know, just in his State of the Union address, President Trump in February said how necessary it is for the U.S. to be the first country to be able to plant its flag on Mars. Why is space exploration still so worth it? Not from a financial perspective, but from your perspective as astronauts.
Why is it?
Space exploration. Why is that so important? And you know, why would President Trump say it's so important, for example, for the United States to be the first country to plant their flag on Mars?
It's about people. And people, I mean, having gone to space, I always thought that space was somewhere else. And then once you get there, you realize that Earth is just bigger than you thought. Home is bigger than we thought. And our place is this universe. And exploring further and further and further is what we do. It will be individual countries that lead this, and yet we will be doing it together.
And Christina, wanted to bring you back in as well. It seemed like you wanted to answer that question. Also, you can do that. Also curious, just to give us a sense for most of us who have never been on the International Space Station, what they're about to be greeted by.
Well, it's an amazing feeling when you come through that hatch because the first thing you see is the face of someone that you trust, a crew member who you know has got your back. And finally, after being, in a small capsule in the blackness of space on your way there for many, many hours, and in their case, almost 20 hours, they know they're home and they know that they're going to be well taken care of. And, you start right away learning how to live this new life in microgravity on board a space station, carrying out your tasks and duties. And so it'll be interesting to see them make that shift from kind of test pilots to being in it for the long haul. And I know they're going to do an awesome job.
Katie, you wanted to make a point here too.
I was just hearing some awesome words, nominal orbital insertion.
What does that mean?
It means that they've gotten to space and they're in orbit.
All right, so that is a major moment here. They have entered space. If you've been watching the broadcast on the right hand of the screen, we are getting feeds in from SpaceX and from NASA. What we just saw right there, I don't know if the moment just happened, but it looks like the rocket booster just re-landed, right?
That was the booster.
That was the booster. That's incredible. It just launched into space and it just came down, and that was also a successful landing onto the ship because just before that it wasn't there.
And I'm going to correct here that I think they were calling that they're looking at a nominal orbital insertion.
Okay.
Because in 1 minute, less than 1 minute from now, we're talking about separation. Explain to us what that process is.
So that means that we're actually going to be done using the second stage, and Dragon will actually separate.
We have a very, it's a nice model, but I'm saying this is basic. It's not a Skywalker Ranch right here. But you have the Falcon rocket here, and you have the Dragon capsule, and this essentially comes off, and it takes off from there.
Exactly.
And Doug and Bob aren't here, and they're going from here straight to the space station.
That's correct.
And this is not that large, right? The capsule itself is not that large.
It's larger than what you think of for, Apollo, Gemini, but it's a small place, but it can seat 4. They've got 2 people in it. And the bottom part of that is actually going to stick with it, but they're actually living in the top sort of more triangular part there.
And it's a throwback to the older missions, right? The bringing back of the capsule, if you will.
Physics doesn't change.
Right.
Curious to get both of your perspectives. Christina, if you'll jump in here too. What you love most about being in space? What you love most about this moment that they're feeling right now and beyond?
Well, the thing I love most personally throughout my mission was being able to contribute and give back. It's something I've held in such high regard my entire life, so to be able to actually work on it day in and day out was just such a privilege. The moment that they're in right now is unforgettable. They're floating out of their seats a little bit for the first time. They're in microgravity. Of course, they've experienced that before, but for me, it was my first time, and I looked over at my crewmate, Nick Hague, who was also a rookie at it, and we smiled at each other, and we knew we had gotten there. It's also maybe their first time to take a peek out the window, if they have access to that, to see Earth, which is another just phenomenal moment. But probably for a little while, they're going to be monitoring those systems. This is a big checkout period where they're making sure comm, navigation, and all that is working as expected. So despite that, they're pretty happy.
Okay, let's listen in.
Dragon separation confirmed.
Separation confirmed. Big smiles from both of you here.
Countdown 1 is emerging.
This is an incredible moment right here. SpaceX, 2 astronauts, a private company, along with NASA. I know we are still very far from mission accomplished, but so far, where we are right now in this part of the mission, incredible.
This is the safest place. If you're not down here on Earth, this is the safest place to be.
Dragon, Chief Engineer on Dragon to ground. Bob Doug, on behalf of the entire launch team, thanks for flying with Falcon 9 today. We hope you enjoyed the ride and wish you a great mission.
And we won't be able to hear from you.
Congratulations to you and the F9 team for the first human ride for Falcon 9. And it was incredible. Appreciate all the hard work and thanks for the great ride to space.
That'll be all.
Oh, and proud of you guys and the rest of the team. Thank you so much for what you've done for us today, putting America back into low Earth orbit from the Florida coast.
That'll be all. Good luck and Godspeed.
Godspeed. So next, they're going to stay for a minimum of 1 month, a maximum of just over 100 days. Give us a sense of what the mission is now.
Right now, they're getting ready for the rendezvous. So tomorrow is when they dock. I tell people 8.5 minutes to get to space and about a day and a half or so to parallel park, right? So they're going to approach this